Do that again.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you gotta be way, way louder.
Testing.
Okay, so on today's episode of Taking 5, we have two guests. We have the main guest of the podcast, which is Matt Emmons, who is... Hey, hold on. Which is Matt Emmons, who is not only one of my former high school classmates, but he is now a pretty accomplished freelance artist, graphic designer, and comic book author.
Creator.
A comic book author, creator, and illustrator. Basically just an all-around insanely talented artist who has started his own brand, Second at Best, and is building up a super huge following. Great conversation with him. It was fun to catch up with him because I haven't seen him since high school, but also really great to just hear about this crazy life that he's living of working a part-time job and then spending all his free time on weekends going to conventions and things like that. But we also hold on, who else do we have here?
The main show.
The main show, which is probably a future guest on this podcast. This would be Julie. We have no affiliation, other than she's in this room with me. We're definitely not dating. And she's just here, and I had to record this, and she wouldn't leave, and also have a mental block about talking into the microphone by myself. I need someone else present. So Julie, do you have any words?
Great, everyone.
Thank you. That's Julie for you guys. All right, we got Matt Emmons coming up next.
Yeah, that was an interesting school. But is it on? Is it running?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just started. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually
right.
have started doing real intros based on people being like, "This makes no sense." That you're just starting. I had this vision.
You don't even 1, 2, 3, let's go. It's just 20 minutes in. It's when do we start?
Yeah, it's oh, we've been recording this whole time.
Yes.
I kind of had this vision of starting and just being oh, look at that. We don't care. We don't do things the conventional way. We don't have an intro. But then everyone was just confused. So
yeah.
I will basically after the fact go and plug in a little
you need some sort of intro thing.
Yeah, we have music now. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Where did I not get to the music part yet?
No, this is after the music part. The music just played. For people who are listening, the music will have just played.
Listeners,
it's fading out as we speak.
Let me know what you think of that music.
Yeah,
when you
Matt
get
wrote
to
it actually. That's not true. Okay. Anyways, but Matt does write a lot of things. So we have Matt Emmons on right now. He is an artist. He's a freelance artist, a professional artist. As we decided before, he's definitely professional.
Yes.
How long would you say you've been a professional artist for?
I would say I think I'm confident enough to say I'm professional for a year.
That's
but
pretty
I've
cool.
been doing this for 2 years.
Right. Well, I mean, you've been making art since I knew you.
Yeah,
so
I've been making
Matt
garbage art for a while.
Oh, shut up. All right, so Matt and I went to high school together, and probably also middle school. Not that much.
Yeah, we were in
Or
middle
was it
school. We
elementary
were in the
school?
same 7th grade
Were we?
class. Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, I
With
think we met in
Mrs.
middle school.
I don't know, the frazzled brunette English teacher. What was her name? Started with a G. Doesn't matter.
I do know who you're talking about, but not good content.
No, not important.
I'm all about
not
the
important.
content. So Matt and I went to high school together. Always been a fantastic artist. And it was interesting because I feel like everyone kind of knew that you were a good artist. I feel like a lot of people with talent or who are really into arts and things like that, people who are good singers, play guitar, they kind of keep that to themselves sometimes. It's not necessarily everyone who's always hey, look at me, I'm a great singer. Not that you're hey, look at me, I can draw better than you. But I feel especially by junior, senior year, everyone was yo, Matt,
because I was always doing stupid little doodles on the side of my pages and stuff. So I wasn't making a whole lot of stuff, but I had it out.
Right.
So everyone knew that I could draw, and everyone thought that I could skateboard. But I never skateboarded. That was one of the rumors.
Interesting. I definitely, I know
you
that you don't, but
that
I would
did.
have, if someone had been oh yeah, Matt, you see him bust that all the other day.
Yeah, he's got tight pants. Of course he rides a skateboard. Yeah,
you were quick on the tight pants. Dude, look at my pants now.
Yeah,
never would have worn these in high school.
But now notice mine are a little looser.
You're ahead of the trends.
So now midway. No, they're not. You meet in the middle. It's growing. You got tighter pants, I got looser pants, so now they're the same pants.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, okay. Yeah,
pants.
So you, in high school, it was
too
skin
tight.
It was
bad
tight.
for your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuck in them.
Could you walk?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah. I could walk, but just there's no need for every contour of my legs to be like
That's
shown,
true.
you know, like
Yeah.
stuck to
every little wrinkle
like
and skin
like I could
tag
paint
and
my
whatnot.
legs black and be like, yep, those are his pants.
Those are he's just
yeah,
wearing
those are his
pants.
weird hairy pants.
Yeah. So I'd say you were alternative before anyone else was alternative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know it's a little bit of a dated term. But
No. Oh, I mean the band T-shirts. I'm so glad that's over.
I had like 1 year in 8th grade where I had like a little bit of an identity crisis between like 7th and 8th grade.
Didn't we
where,
all?
Yeah, didn't we all? It hit me very hard because I was friends with like Nick and David, who are some of our friends and whatnot from home, but I was kind of in like more of a sporty crowd because I played baseball and basketball and all that stuff. But then I like didn't really like those kids, and then I like started playing guitar and I was like, oh, maybe I'll see what these kids are doing. And I went to Hot Topic, I bought a couple band T-shirts, and then I got to high school. I was just like, I don't fit in with either of these crowds. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's how. Honestly, that's how I felt too, but I just leaned into the other side of it more, where I was like, well, I definitely am not allowed at the sports centers. Like, I'm not supposed to be there.
Right.
I'll flinch. Like, I'm nervous, but.
Right. But anyways, getting back on track. So, you have your own brand, Second at Best, right?
Yes.
When did that start?
I made it. Okay, I made it when I was in college because I was in a class and we had to take. It was supposed to be professional development, but there was not a lot of professionals developing in the class.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to make a website. We had to like transition our social medias to things, and everyone's like, "Oh, first name, last name, art or drawing and all that." And my Instagram name before that was Phantom Diddler.
I remember that.
And it was when I was starting to take myself a little seriously, and I was like, I need to get rid of that. So I absolutely got rid of that. And I had been always kicking that idea. Like, Second at Best was like a funny little self-deprecating name. Right. And I'd always had it in the back of my head. I was like, that'd be cool to have like a brand.
Right.
And like do clothing and whatever, and kind of like a collective or whatever under that name. And nobody did it with me. So when I finally was like, okay, got to get rid of, Phantom Diddler for potentially legal reasons, I was like, I'll do Second at Best. And the only thing I could find when I looked it up before was a band that hadn't been active since 2014.
Named Second at Best?
Yeah, I was like, I'm in. Yeah, so I got Second at Best as like a domain name, easy. And then I had to put the dots in between on Instagram.
I saw that.
Yeah, but
I mean,
at this point it's there, and I don't care.
Also, like, if I search, so I like was telling my girlfriend yesterday that I was interviewing you tomorrow, and I was like, go look up his Instagram, like, he's doing some really cool stuff, and then I just told her to type in Second.
Yeah,
at Best,
it usually pops up,
so,
which is pretty
that's a good
solid.
Sign. That's a good sign.
So you can type it wrong, and it'll still get to me, which is nice.
Which is really cool, because for me, I've always had the issue of, one, my name is Josh Brown, so even if you search me correctly, you're not going to find me.
Well, if you search Matt Emmons, there's an Olympic marksman.
Really?
Named Matt Emmons, who I haven't looked him up in a while. I don't know if he's doing better, but he had a bad year way back. So he got some nicknames like Misfire Matt and Wrong Way Emmons.
Oh my
Wrong
God.
Way Emmons sounds really. Neither of them sound like Olympics things.
Yeah.
They just sound like
Wrong Way Emmons.
Personal.
Well, was he not maybe a very good Olympian?
I mean, if you're an Olympian, don't you have to be a certain level of good? So like, isn't a bad Olympian?
Well, that's like when they're like, when they're talking about like backup quarterback. I know you're a big sports guy, so like when they talk about like backup quarterbacks, like, oh, that dude sucks. It's like, no, he's incredible. It's just that when you take only the top 0.0001% of football players, he's at the bottom of that percent. You know what I mean?
But then they're like, oh, he still sucks. I'm like, you just drank a 30 rack on your couch
while watching him completely.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like that's different.
Yeah, he would destroy you in a quarterbacking competition, I suppose.
Quarterbacking?
I don't know what that would look like. Anyways, so you start this brand, Second at Best, right? Or let's backtrack a little bit. So when did you first like discover that you had this ability, or at least this affinity for drawing?
I mean, like most people who have been drawing have always been drawing. But I used to draw, like I played Pokemon, and I was like, oh, I'll draw these Pokemon. Right. And then someday I'll make Pokemon for money, for real.
Yeah.
And then I kind of was like, oh, no, I won't. And then I found out that a lot of them based on animals. I was like, oh, shit, I love animals.
Right.
So I started to then be like, oh, I'll just be a real-life Pokemon master and befriend all these animals. And I was like, that's not real either. Mm-hmm. So then I just started drawing animals. That turned into drawing monsters.
Right.
And then I started watching, like, just that. And I always kept that, like, light. Like, I'd draw, like, silly, dumb cartoons and things when I was younger. And then I thought I wanted to do like comedy animation, like Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, like
which
that
was like
kind of
that
stuff.
was all the rage when you were
Yeah,
kids,
and
too.
like Regular Show and Venture Brothers. Like I was watching those shows and I was like, I want to animate. And then, so I've always been drawing, but I didn't really start taking it seriously till like halfway through college. I didn't start drawing consistently till halfway through college, which is weird to think about.
Yeah, well, because I feel like also throughout, at least I'm sure you were doing it in middle school as well. But like
Yeah,
when
but,
I
like-
start, when at least when I was like, oh shit, Matt's like a really good artist. It was definitely like early on in high school that you would do these drawings sometimes in class. Sometimes just like while we were at lunch or something, and it was just like those are really fucking good.
I drew a bit. Like I would say I probably drew like I made like one finished piece every 2 to 4 months.
Yeah.
And now I make used to on average make like 5+ finished pieces every week.
Wow.
And that was just like for me to do my own shit before I started really picking up freelance and stuff. And now I don't have that time at all.
Right, because now you actually
now I'm like, well, if I stay up really late, I can treat myself to more work.
Right, but at the same time, now it's work, and that's actually an interesting thing that like we'll table it for later.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
But just like the contrast between like something that is a passion of yours, but now it's like you're getting paid to do it professionally, it almost becomes work instead.
Oh,
of
it super
joy
becomes work.
sometimes,
It definitely is. Yeah.
But anyway, so you didn't really start taking it seriously until college, and by taking it, I mean you went to college for.
I went to first I just went to college.
Right,
I was like,
right.
I'll figure it out when I go. And
But
then,
Leslie, you went to Leslie.
I went
and that's
to-
a school
yeah, I
known
went
for that stuff, right?
Leslie bought Art Institute of Boston. So like they had a partnership with it. So I was like, okay, I could dabble in arts and do something else.
Okay.
But because everyone's like, you can't make money
Right,
being an artist.
exactly.
And I was like, you're right. I'm a child that knows everything. So obviously
Good for
you're
you.
right too.
Good for you for everything
Yeah.
we're
So I was
saying.
like, definitely. And I was in the honors program for my first semester of college and I hated it.
Really?
I wasn't failing, but I was like, I can't do this forever. And I was either thinking about leaving and maybe I'll do a trade because I'd rather work with my hands, and then I was like, well, I'll just try the art side of it. And I went towards the animation side, showed them a sketchbook. They're like, you're in.
Yeah,
So I just switched over. It's the same school, but I transferred.
So that was your
for the
transfer
listeners, yeah.
application. It was just like, hey,
A sketchbook.
look at my art.
Yes. Yeah.
They're like, okay.
Yeah. So I transferred over to the
have
animation
potential.
program. Yeah. And then it's getting better. It was a kind of disorganized program when I was first there. And I was sort of afraid, or not sort of, I was really afraid to animate. Because it was something I hadn't done. Because I did it for like something for school,
Right.
but I did it completely the wrong way. So
You're
I had
the Mr. North
yeah,
Andover?
for
That was
our male
So
pageant.
just
It's funnier to say.
catch listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're from North Andover, Massachusetts. Shout out.
Whoa, shout out North Andover.
Great town.
Woo,
Better than
suburbia.
Andover. Shout out Andover.
That's fine.
Yeah, Andover's
wow.
fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Sometimes we tried to think that we have a rivalry, but then it's like we don't care enough.
They're the same.
Yeah, they're the same as
But-
us. Slightly more Jewish.
Is
About
it?
Oh,
Not-
definitely.
I mean,
definitely. As
I-
one of the like 4 Jews in our grade of 300, Andover has like 8 in their grade of 300.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
twice as
yeah,
Jewish.
twice as much.
But anyways, so we have this, basically male
male pageant. It sounds funnier. We have male
I like
pageant.
that better than a talent. It's called Mr. North Andover. I'm amazed that it's still going on and it hasn't they haven't been like, hey, maybe let's also have a Miss North Andover, or let's just do a person of North Andover.
I mean, it's suburbs. So
it's a suburb and it's a somewhat.
We're
conservative
solid like
one.
20 years away when we're all parents.
When we're
And
parents,
the
they'll
ones
finally be like,
the
"Oh,
ones that
shit."
move back that aren't like the super townies.
Yeah,
that's
but
what's up.
it's funny
But-
because it's one of those things that we both went to super liberal schools and
Yeah.
obviously I'm assuming you're in that similar state of mind, but I feel like that was one of those things that I kind of got my bubble burst about when my girlfriend was like, I was telling her about
Yeah.
Mr. North Andover. I was like, it's this great competition where all the guys get to show off their showcases and then all the girls wear pretty dresses and sponsor them. And she's like, that's super sexist. I was like, no, what? No, it's
And they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things where it's just like over time, I'm like, oh, we were on like bad people
yeah.
saying like
well,
bad things, or just like you didn't know.
I don't.
You
Yeah,
didn't know.
I think that's
some.
more
I mean,
accurate.
if you go back and see some people, you're like, oh,
Well, they
you
never
really
learned,
mean it
yeah.
now. You've had a lot of time to think about it.
And you're
But
still this way. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't hold anything against high schoolers really.
no, it's still.
be
I mean,
honest.
I haven't seen you in 4 years. Like, I'm not going to judge
know.
that many of the people I haven't seen in like 6 years.
Right.
Some
exactly.
of them.
Yes,
some of
I'll judge like a few.
I'll
of them.
Google some of them, or like,
And
well,
then be
not
like,
Google.
"Oh,
them.
I'm doing
Yeah.
so much better than you.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you look bad. Yeah, but
So anyway, so we have this pageant, Miss North Andover. It's basically a talent competition where they choose 8 people, or people enter, and then whoever enters, they choose like 8 of them from our grade as seniors, and then it's like a combination talent show / some people just try to be funny, etc.
It's a weird popularity contest.
Yeah,
thing.
and like mostly it's just like, you know, they say they pick it randomly.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I think ours was pretty fair. But anyway, so I was like, I'm mostly physically talentless. What do I do? And I was like, oh, cartoons.
Right.
Yeah, I was like on a bus with a friend, and then she was like, oh, you could like animate. And I was like, how do you do that? So I went to the only like teacher that taught Adobe stuff, and I knew how to use Photoshop. I dabbled in it a bit, and I was like, is there any software to animate if I'm just like an amateur? And she's like, no, there's not. You'd have to be a professional. And 2 years later or a year later, I find out there is something.
I mean,
called
there has
Adobe
to be.
Flash. It's Adobe. It's an
you
Adobe
can-
product.
you can animate
They had
on-
it on the computer.
It was right
You can
there.
draw right on them, and you animate frame by frame. But instead, I did it all wrong, and I just made a bunch of pictures, which
And then
is
just
kind of
took-
the same thing.
took
It's like
pictures of it.
animation is a bunch
Yeah.
of stills that are put into a certain software that like works it easier.
And it slowly progresses through a scene.
Yeah, so what I did instead was manually do that, and I made
Which is-
like a bunch of GIFs, and then I strung them together, and then I turned them into an MP4. And then
crazy.
I did 3 of the 4 voices and had a teacher do it, and then they're like, well, we need some element of a live performance. So they cut the audio from all the voices I did and made me do them live.
Wow.
And it's really silly. It's really clunky and
I
chunky
don't
to look
remember
at
that
now,
part.
but it was super weird and funny. But that was my first like foray into animating, and I don't think
And
I
you did
even,
it the hardest way possible.
I did it
also.
the wrongest way,
Yeah.
the most wrong way possible. But I liked those characters. They were kind of like regular show-esque. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like animals and people kind of exist at the same time. Like it doesn't really matter. I wasn't a stoner, so it wasn't quite stoner comedy, but I was just like, life's like funny in like a bleak way.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
That was always
Yeah.
kind of your MO.
Yeah,
I
like a
feel
playful cynicism, but I'm like very positive anyway. But
Yeah.
so that was it for a while, and that's like what I thought I wanted to animate for a while, and then as I grew to kind of hate animation, and when I started to take drawing seriously, it also clicked that I was like, I don't have to be funny. I'm not funny. I'm funny in person, but I'm
But maybe not as much through
yeah. I
your
didn't
work.
want to
Yeah.
make funny work.
Ah,
And I
I
was
see.
like, oh, okay. And then I got into comics. I didn't get into reading comics till I was 20.
Yeah.
And we're 24 now.
Right,
And I
yeah.
so I started making them pretty much right when I started reading them. And that's when I really locked in how I draw now with like, cause if I don't expect you to remember exactly what I was drawing like 6-7 years ago.
I feel like it wasn't too dissimilar to what you're drawing now.
So-
Like a
sometimes.
lot of monsters, and just like
Yeah.
you'd look at it and be like, okay, there's like an eye coming out of
Yeah.
that dude's chest.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like that was like a Matt
Yeah,
Emmons
definitely.
thing, you know?
But I also did like a real cartoony too. So I
Yeah,
leaned into
yeah,
the
yeah.
cartoony at first, and then I definitely I don't draw like hyper real. I don't try to go hyper realistic or anything at all. That bores me. But I definitely locked in a very specific style. I just like sat in the woods and drew trees and figured out like heavy shadows, and now I ink like big chunky black inks and stuff like that.
Right.
And yeah, that was it. Like after that, I started drawing all the time. Started inking traditionally with a brush on Bristol paper, like a thicker paper, and I've slowly refined how I do that, and that's what I've been doing the last three or so.
So yeah, I
years.
was gonna ask. So for like, so I have. Where'd they go? They're right
Yep.
here. So I have 3 of his of Matt's comics right now, which is the Gardener series, and then I think this Incubator is new, right? You said?
Yeah, well, that one's older than.
Oh, that was
part of
older.
Gardner, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the Gardener
Or
is
part of
new.
it. Yeah, I made it like in between making those 2 issues. But
Gotcha.
that's like a standalone short because I wanted to try that kind of print
Okay,
method, which I
cool.
can explain at some point if you want.
Go right now.
Okay, so one of these books, listeners, you can't see, is smaller than the others.
Yes.
And it feels different than the others.
It's more papery.
Yeah,
I like these ones. I like the feel of these ones better.
What?
The Gardener
I
ones.
love Riz. I'm a little.
the paper's cool,
I'm a little
but-
indie boy, so
Yeah,
I
no,
love
I
like
like it.
independent stuff. So it's risograph printing, which is if you took a screen print press and a Xerox machine and they had a baby, and so it's a weird little function, and it used to be for like churches and schools printing things, and it's had a renaissance as like an art book thing.
Right.
So I wanted to test that process, so I made that little book,
Gotcha.
and that's what got me in heavy metal, because
Okay.
they liked that.
And that would be what you told me about for the listeners.
yeah, off air content.
Yeah. So Heavy Metal Magazine, which is the issue out that you're in now?
Yeah, 294's been out.
Issue 294 Heavy
is
Metal
coming out.
Magazine. You can go read one of these shorts, right?
Not one of the. It's its own separate one. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
got you. Is it from from the Gardner series?
Nope, made it specifically for them. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Caretaker.
Caretaker.
Yeah, it's
How
similar
do you come up
tone.
with these are cool names.
I mean, I gotta
Well,
get
they're
out of
all,
the. I
like-
gotta get out of the one word names.
No,
I'm
but I
getting-
like that. That's a
know,
cool, like-
But they're all just so dramatic.
I feel
yeah,
like you
I
need
know.
like a shtick or something. You know, like
Yeah,
you know how,
yeah.
like I don't know if you ever watch Friends, but doesn't like every episode start with like the one where
Yeah, or like always
Always Sunny.
Always Sunny, where it's
yeah,
like the gang do crimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yours is
Yeah.
just like Gardner, incubator.
I have a
caretaker.
few. Yeah, I have a few. that
Refrigerator.
aren't- yeah, I am planning. Refrigerator is the follow up. But yeah, it's definitely. If I don't think of a name for something, almost immediately I never name it. So that's why they're usually so simple.
Do you have working titles?
They just become the title.
They just become-
almost all the time, or just like don't title. Like I have a ton of characters that I just like didn't name because I was like I can't think of a name, so I just won't have anybody. It's visual, so I don't have to write a name.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Do some of them have names that like you know, and it's like only my real fans know this character's
I mean, like
name?
I've been calling one of them. He's not in there yet, but one of them's just called Goo Man, and like I'm never gonna write. No one in dialogue is gonna be like, "Hello, Goo Man."
Goo Man.
But that's his name, and I've posted about him so much that people refer
People
to
know
him
that it's
as
Goo
like
Man.
Goo Boy, Goo Man, yeah, Gooey guy.
That's amazing.
But yeah, he's never gonna get like a name.
But that's kind of great because it's like you could even like maybe he has a backstory where it's like he does have a name, but like it's been long forgotten.
That's
and now he's
well,
just
that is
Goo
his
Man.
that is his
There
backstory.
you go.
Yeah,
Look at
he
that.
was. Yeah, he's a dummy that like used to be a guy that got like sucked out. I think you might have seen him, but it's just like
I
a
probably
blue
have.
like blue gelatinous guy with
I
organs
probably
floating
have.
around.
I definitely know the guy on the cover of Gardner.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
that.
big boy.
There's another dude who wears like the scuba mask almost. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or it's like it's like a Cyclops kind of thing, but it's like or at least it looks like he's wearing a scuba mask and he only has. You know what, I'm gonna.
I don't even remember what I
Here we
drew.
go. Here we go. Ready? This is
Does he
gonna
also have a
be-
poncho? Does he have like a poncho?
I don't know. We're gonna quick Instagram break, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, go take a phone break.
No, everyone, listeners, go to you. Describe
Or
where
actually,
you're going. Have them
yeah.
nap. No, I'm not
all
gonna.
right, here's
I
what we're
can't
gonna
say
do,
fuck.
Matt. You're gonna plug. This is the first of many plugs.
All
but
right, plugs.
Your Instagram, your website. While I'm looking up your very Instagram.
Okay. My website is easy. It's second@best.com. You can put the www there, but if you don't, you'll still get there. Don't worry. And my Instagram is second with a period @best.
And he's got a lot of followers. He's got like 50,000 followers, which is impressive. And I want to talk about how you got them. I know, whatever.
I
but,
bought
like,
it. No, I didn't buy them.
It's one of those things where I'm so jealous of people's Instagram followers, but then like everyone who has it's like, dude, like, oh my god, it's the worst thing in the world.
It doesn't really change much except
Yeah.
more people ask me for free things. That's really it. So it looks good. It's like,
But then people
Yeah.
are just like, oh, you have a following. Can I have free comic books?
yeah, or just people be like, oh, can you draw me something? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, here for money. And they're like, oh, I have to like pay you. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. They're like, but you can just draw it and post it. You don't have to give it to me. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
deal.
Deal.
No. But yeah, stuff like that.
So
But,
I realized I told you incorrectly. This is the guy I was talking about.
oh, that's just like
It's
I
not
don't
really a
have,
scuba mask. It's like a gas
That's
mask.
a gas mask. Yeah, that's like a World War I gas mask. I don't know. I have a couple of gas masks, which is I shouldn't get more because it starts to look weird.
Really?
The more gas masks I just like keep in my home.
Then,
you know,
yeah,
the
at a
weirder-
certain point, like if the police happen to like come into your
Yeah,
house
yeah,
for
yeah.
whatever reason, they just see like 10 gas masks. Like I don't know what this dude is doing.
Yeah,
but
10
it's
gas masks and like a big knife, and that's all I have.
yeah, we
like a
should definitely
broken
talk to
crossbow.
him.
Yeah, yeah.
So my first question about these comics is one. So like, what medium do you use? Like, are these literal sketches that you then like digitize? Are you doing it on like a Surface Pro or something like that?
I can't draw for shit digitally.
Okay.
I sometimes can. I mostly can't. I like to draw traditionally, and I feel better when I do. So I draw those pages.
These comics, yep.
That's all 11 by 17. So every panel that's exactly what the inks look like if you just take all the color away.
Wow.
So each is 11 by 17. I lay it all out and ink it, and then I scan them, color them in Photoshop, because I'm not confident enough to not ruin my pages if I do traditional watercolors.
Right. Interesting. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Because I've always been curious, like, because I mean, that's not the only way to do this, right?
No, there's a million ways
There's
to
a
do it. Yeah,
million
there's
ways.
no wrong way to do it as long as you get that same finished product. Yeah,
I see.
Because some people draw strictly digital. Some people kind of start drawing digital, print it out ink over their digital inks traditionally to get that feel. Some people watercolor their own pages, which is absolute insanity. And then some people do, so it's a mix of things, and there's no right way to do it.
Can you tell, is your eye good enough to like look at a comic book and be like, I know how this was made?
I know who drew digitally almost every time. Yeah.
That's
there's
really
just
cool.
something slightly different, and it's not like, I don't know, there's just like a little different feel. Like sometimes you'll catch pencil marks or little moments where the ink bled out in a way that a digital brush doesn't do that, even if you recreate it. Sometimes the eye can be tricked and stuff, and it doesn't really matter. But I love the traditional stuff.
That's cool. So you said a few minutes ago that, like, you know, when some people are like asking you, hey, can you draw me something? You're like, yes, you know, if you pay me.
Yeah.
When, like, because I think that's something that, like, I've been struggling with as, like, a musician, theoretically. Yeah. I need to start saying musician and not just being like, I'm not just like a guy that does. But you know what I mean? It's like, when do you get to the point where you start taking yourself seriously enough that you're like, okay, like, if you want me to play guitar on your track, if you want me to help you produce something, like, you need to pay me. Like, at a certain point, you want to just take whatever experience you can get, but then there comes a time where it's like, okay, if I am going to do this, I need to just not do free work.
It's weird, and I think kind of natural, so it's hard to, like, I feel like it's hard to give that to somebody specific, but every time I talk to people who lowball themselves or do stuff for free, I'm just like, don't do free shit. Yeah. Because if they really like it, they want to pay you for it. Right. And it helps weed out the people that are going to be a real pain in the ass, take advantage of you, you're going to do too much work for nothing, really, or or very little money and stuff like that. So I did take things for, like, no money, basically, because, like, oh, I'm just excited to have somebody want that. Exactly. But then after some point, you have to realize if you do that, you risk oversaturating yourself out there, and now you really don't have as much value as you could because you set your own value. Right. And I got a couple good my day job's at a screen print shop, and we, like, just one of our clients, like, had me draw something for him as a hobby, and I gave him, like, a super low rate, but in my head I was like, that's so much money. But I was, like, pretty early out of college, like, hadn't done a lot of freelance, and he was like, just so you know, you charged me a comically low amount of money, so when I get more work from you, I expect it to be significantly more money, and I will happily pay it. But I'm gonna pay you what you said before, right? Because that's how. And so now
that really nice, like, really great of him to. That's kind of like a lesson right there.
And that's what I tell everyone now. Yeah. When people are talking about it, because it's just, what do you think you're worth, and look at people that you look up to, or just other people you know, and if you can have that. Oh, some people are really like, oh, I don't want to talk about money, and I don't want to talk about it in, like, a bragging way to people, or like like that kind of stuff. I don't like that, but I'm like, what's your rate versus mine? So that way we can both be like, I'm charging too much or too little, or we're in the Goldilocks zone of perfect. Like, so I like having it be pretty open, especially with comics, because they don't really talk about, different creators get paid very different things, if they get paid at all. And so I like being pretty transparent with any rates and things I get from that field, because it's good to know. Yeah. To me, I'd like to know too. Right. But I think, it's just a matter of when people start asking, just be like, okay, here's what I usually charge, but you know what? If you have a budget, like, we can talk. Exactly. Yeah, and you don't have to hit them with $1,000 for that, like, because I'm still pretty fair price for the most part, but I've taken a lot less of it because a lot of it's usually so awful. Yeah. It's never, because do you get people that are like, oh, you make music, you must make any kind of music. Yeah. For sure. So I get people like, oh, I love your art so much. Like, can you draw something for me? Yeah, sure. Oh, I'd love to pay you. You have to. And then they're like, could you draw, like, a photorealistic Grim Reaper with a bunch of roses holding a big titty woman? And I'm like, no. I
guess I could, but, like,
I was like, no, I wouldn't even try. I've spent years refining this style. Yeah. And they're like, no, but could you just do what you do, but less shading? I'm like, half my style is the big, thick inks. And so it's...
Well, is it like, so, like, in music, for instance, so this studio we're at, like, it does everything theoretically, but mostly who comes in are pop and rap artists. Mm-hmm. And I like pop, I like rap. I don't like all pop and all rap, and I don't love, like, SoundCloud rap, which is, like, the new style, obviously.
I'm not around for that.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, when you're so early on, as I am, it's like you kind of just take it. whoever comes to you, which is fine. But like when I work on a project that I like really am like, this is a dope song, I'm just gonna do a better job. And because I just like am more passionate about it, I'm gonna really work to make it my own. Is that similar? Well, so is that similar with art? Obviously, you kind of just said it is in terms of people asking you to do things. But is there like a sort of like popular style of art that like, oh, the real artists are like, like that's not, that's not my thing? Or is it just like there's just so many different styles?
It's kind of like different. So it's not in music. Like there's always genre, and I definitely fit into like different artists fit into certain genres of work. Like I definitely have billed myself more as like a sci-fi and artist now, and clearly a comics artist. So you probably wouldn't go to me for your bakery logo,
right? Exactly.
Unless you're like, oh, we love sci-fi or something. So it's a little different, but people do mistake them for being similar, so that you can draw anything, or people just come to me for different content than what I'm necessarily strong at drawing.
Right.
So somebody will ask me to draw, a portrait or a caricature of them, and I'll go, because that's not what I do. Yeah. Or every once in a while, people will absolutely nail it, and they're like, oh, we want you to draw this, and it's like, yes. Like when Heavy Metal was like, oh, we really like your short story about a robot. We think it'd be great for our issue that's centering around technology. Would you want to do a new story about a new robot? And I went,
like, yes.
Yes.
For
so
sure.
It's like that, I guess. So it's same but different.
Right. So your day job. What did you say your day job was?
I work at a screen print shop. Shout out to, I almost blanked out on it, which is bad, Ben Franklin Print Co.
Ben Franklin Print Co.
Yeah, we're in Danvers. We do screen print. We do embroidery. We do stickers. We do.
Interesting. So like what kind of clients do you work for?
We mostly do like businesses, small businesses. We're a small business that likes working for small business.
Okay,
so it's like
that's cool.
Landscapers, construction, gyms, like local stuff. Like that's what we.
And you just basically help them. They're like, hey, we need a new logo, or like we need you to help.
We
design.
print. We do the shirts.
They're little shirts.
I mean, we've done design work for people, but mainly I'd say 90% of the businesses, or maybe less, but like majority of people come in and they have a logo, they have stuff. If they don't, we can help them design it and stuff, but we screen print. So so that's where I also get my merch done, which was all part of the
nice.
Because I left college and I was working at Tavern the Square.
Oh yeah,
Tits as we call it locally.
Yeah, Tits. They I lived in Central this past year and they got rid of the one there.
I know, yeah, they're moving out to the suburbs.
They are,
make more of that.
They literally replaced
that
it
mom
with
money.
It's just like this, for those who don't live in Massachusetts. It's like I think they're only in Massachusetts. I don't know, but it's just like a sports bar.
Yeah,
they literally.
No, don't. You could get in trouble for calling them a sports bar. If you work there, don't worry.
What do they want to call it?
A modern tavern. We had to take tests. I took more tests at Tits than I took in college.
That's amazing.
It's hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, I worked at the one in Lowell, and the amount of people having affairs that come there for lunch with their mistress and dinner with their wife.
Oh my God, like in the same day?
Yeah, same night. They're like, this is my wife. And you're like, yes, I haven't seen you before.
So was the woman earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, I worked there for a bit, and I could not handle it. And
as a waiter?
Yeah, as a server.
That's
yeah,
all right. Did you ever have like a service job in high school?
What do you mean service?
Like waiter.
In high school I worked at Edgewood, like down the street.
Oh,
at the,
I forgot
at the
you worked
retirement
there,
place, which is way more laid back.
Right.
And that place was great. That was a great job.
That was good.
Have.
That's good. Because it's important. I think it's important for everyone.
It taught me how to talk to people.
Exactly.
And it taught me how to talk to people all ages.
Yeah.
Because in high school you're mostly interacting with your parents, your friends' parents, and your friends.
Yeah.
And so that's the specific kinds of people. But when I had to work, I had to talk to mostly elderly people, but like adults that I had no other ties to other than like, what do you want to eat? And
right.
Like, so it kind of bridged that gap and made it a little better, and kind of made it easier for me to go to these conventions and talk to people now, because I'm like, I can just talk to anyone. So it helped in a really weird way that I didn't expect.
Right.
But
so you're working at Tits?
Yeah, I was working at Tits.
Tavern in the Square.
Hating it because I was working like 6 days a week and pulling those nice fun like 13, 12-hour shifts. And so I was just tired and broken. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I randomly hit up. I dabbled in screen printing like hobbyist level. Made some really bad shirts of my home and my dorm and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I'd like to learn more. Maybe I'll be a screen printer.
Yeah.
And so I tried to get in touch with a couple places. Didn't hear back from any. And then by chance, a friend of a friend I got in touch with, and he was like, oh, I think I know one that might be looking for somebody. So I went in, tried to print, was horrible, and my now boss Joe was like, I don't have the time to train somebody. So I was like, okay, well, fuck. And then as we were walking out, he's like, are you good with talking with people? And can you send emails and like just do that? Like, can you be a person? Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, can you pass a drug test? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, neither can we. I was like, no. I said, yeah. They're like, we don't care. You're fine. So then I just got hired there, and I've just been there. And now I do like the office management and a chunk of the design and stuff like that.
Did you start off just doing the office management?
Yeah. I didn't really touch any design. I didn't know how to use it.
But that's the classic, like, it's like you want to get into something. Okay, like maybe I don't know how to print screens, but yes, I can manage an office.
Print screens.
Jesus,
screen
that was
print,
horrible.
But yeah, I knew what you meant. Yeah.
Yes, print screens.
So
that's a keyboard. That's a key on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Print screen, right?
Oh, okay. That's I mean, I don't know.
I'm gonna find it right now. This keyboard doesn't have it. That's okay.
Okay.
I think dated keyboard reference, but so that's the classic. Like, you just get your foot in the door, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I knew I wanted something because working at Tits I was working so much I didn't have time to draw anything, and I was so exhausted the one day I had off that I would just kind of sit and stare at a wall, and then that was it. So I knew it was going to affect me negatively. I really hadn't done a whole lot of conventions. I hadn't made Gardner or anything like that at that point either, and I was like, I need something that can be kind of fluid. So I was like, I don't care if I take a huge pay cut and just do some sort of part-time job. And then this ended up working out where...
Was it part-time originally?
Yeah, it was part-time. So I was there.
And when was this? You already graduated college?
When was this? 2017, like fall, into the fall, end of the summer of 2017.
Okay.
So I've been there for a little while now.
Yeah.
I've been there like 2 years. And it was Tuesday through Friday. What is it? 10 to 4. So it was super fun. It was super nice, easy. For the first time in my life, I wasn't working weekends.
Yeah.
And this job wasn't something I was on my feet for 12, 13 hours a day. And so it was way more laid back, way easier for me to get time off and things. So it worked really flexibly.
Right.
And now I still have that. I switched. I do Tuesdays instead and whatever.
Right.
So I now do this and freelance.
Right. And so, but when you started, you were just working at the shop.
I was just working at the shop and kind of
starting
making my own work, like trying to get more freelance and more comics specifically.
Who was your first client? Like your first freelance
client? First freelance client
if you're allowed
was
to talk about
it. It was these guys, Freebase Samples. They're a duo is it like rap? It was rap. And they were in San Antonio, Texas, and they found me through Instagram because I was using Instagram still all this time. I had left college with a couple thousand followers, which was
you were just posting art.
Yeah, I was just posting drawings. I hadn't even made. I had a lot of concepts for Gardner.
Yeah.
But I was too scared to make the comic. So the guy that made the beats. I think his name's Mikey Strange. Yeah,
Mikey Strange.
Yeah, he's
that
awesome.
Is such a producer name.
But he made really cool music, and he hit me up and was like, "Oh, do you want to do like our album cover and like back matter and stuff like that?" And I was like, yeah. And I gave myself an absolutely abysmal rate because I'd never done anything. I was like, so excited to do it. And they were really nice, super easy to work with. And I did like a couple things with them. I think they didn't use what I drew as like the front cover, which I'm actually glad because years later still looks good.
Yeah.
What they chose looks nicer. But they have all the stuff as like back matter. It was parodying like them as the guys from what's that Tarantino movie with John Travolta and Pulp Fiction. Yeah, them as like Pulp Fiction guys, stuff like that. So that was my first one, and I can't really remember. I think the next one that I thought was like pretty solid was I had sort of just like gotten in touch with an animation studio, and they had me do they wanted me to animate a show. It was like a 10-episode show, and they remotely. So they're in Brooklyn. They wanted me to animate a show, and it got convoluted, like lack of communication, stuff like that. And then they were like, "Oh, I'd need to be doing an episode every 2 weeks for like months." And I was like, I can't do that. That takes too much time. So it just kind of disappeared. And then way later, they had me do their backgrounds for the show. And I don't think it's even come out yet. But
what's it called?
I don't know if the show's out yet, so I don't know if I can say.
Okay,
because I've never heard anything about it either. Right, I got paid.
Okay, is it going to be like a Netflix show?
No, it's going to be like a web series thing because it's
cool.
The studio has done stuff for like Facebook Watch and like different like they're playing like all those other media platforms because there's money in it. But it's hard. Like they're trying to pioneer being the ones to get in there.
Still, that's really cool. So at that point, you must be like, all right, like I could do this. I could. I can get clients.
So for a bit, everything's come to me, which is really lucky.
Well, you say that, but like everything's come to you because you've spent your whole life practicing and drawing and drawing. And
by putting it out on Instagram, it's kind of the same thing as advertising now, which is so strange to get used to. But
what do you, as a quick tidbit, what are some keys to Instagram that you found? Just like in terms of, obviously you have great content.
I don't know. It's super weird.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what I did for the first couple thousand was there was it was a podcast account, kind of Lifeform. He would interview like Instagram lowbrow artists kind of things. And he would do a word of the week drawing club. So he would get really popular Instagram artists, like people huge on social media, and interview them. So it would pull in listeners, and then
interview.
And then that artist would pick a word of the week, like bat or booger, because it was lowbrow, so it would always be like ridiculous shit. And then you could just submit. So I started submitting to that, and so it was advertising. So I would get reposted on that account as that account was growing, and so people that liked mine would go follow me. So I walked out of college with I think like 4,000 followers, which was a good spot to be in. And then once you hit a certain number, it just kind of
people just
puts you. It starts putting you in people's discover pages and stuff like that. But you've
never put conscious effort into getting more Instagram followers.
I've just been like, like every once in a while I'm like, oh, this hashtag is popular, but I don't know how that shit works.
Yeah,
either.
I don't really either.
So and there's certain characters I draw, like I know certain things will be more popular, but it doesn't necessarily net me anything.
Right.
So it just kind of evolved super naturally, and then like once it hit that 10K bump, it just went up, like
it just kept
every
climbing.
day. It was like 100 a day for like months, and I wasn't even posting. I was posting once a week because I was moving. I just got back from like a convention in Charlotte, North Carolina,
right? And
went to like I hadn't done anything. I was like, okay, that's fine. But so it's again, it looks nice, but it doesn't really mean that. Like less than 1% of that stuff is like people that really interact with it, like actively like want to support it and stuff like that. So it's again like not gonna knock it. It looks good. It's nice to have.
It does definitely give you some like you can just easily like be like, oh yeah, here's my Instagram. And I feel like anyone who's like, oh, I wonder if I try like they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
it definitely is a selling.
It's almost like a point on your resume.
And and it's part of it will and won't appeal because I'm still very new in comics. Like I'm coloring a series that I mentioned before.
Right.
Off air. So I'm coloring a series that just got announced on Comixology, which is like a digital platform, but they have their own originals. So I'm coloring that. First issue's out last week.
And what's it called?
It's called Forgotten Home.
Right.
So there's 8 issues. I'll be working on that through I think like March, really. Okay. And then so we'll be doing I forget what the layout schedule is for when they're releasing them, but first one's out now. If you have Amazon, if you have something, if you're paying for Amazon, you probably get the first issue free.
Oh, wow.
But if you don't, check it out.
Cool.
And so I'm coloring that, and that just got announced. And then my short and heavy metal. So
right.
I got those 2 publishing credits this year, so it's my first thing. So I'm a super fresh newborn baby in all of this. And heavy metal is really great and really easy to work with. So I'd love to be a heavy metal regular, keep throwing stuff in there, getting it out. And then get some pitches rolling out. I have one with a really cool writer, Michael, who we have been sending out a pitch. So this stuff takes a long time. So we probably won't even have any talks, if we get any at all, until maybe mid next year. So it's all a waiting game, and it's all time consuming. But so I know where I am, and I don't forget it. Yeah. But I'm hungry for more, and I want more.
That's the way to be.
And the other route is like self-publishing is surprisingly viable in comics, which is weird because there's things like Kickstarter is going through a little trouble right now because they want to unionize and the owners are like no. Yeah. So now but normally you could go to like Kickstarter or Indiegogo and things like that, and you can just entirely get your whole book funded and self-release it.
Wow.
And like get your ISBN if you need it or want it and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of routes to go, and I'm used to doing everything myself, so that's not scary to me now, which is cool.
I think what time has it been? Yeah, this is perfect. All right, we're gonna take a break right now. But when we come back, which is also in part 2 of this interview, because we got 2 parts now. I want to talk about like the touring and the conventions. And basically the self-publishing and marketing things like that. All right, so that's part 1 with Matt Emmons.
Perfect.
Go check out his aforementioned extremely popular Instagram handle, second at best, that he doesn't necessarily care about, but definitely makes me jealous.
I mean, if it did get deleted, I would be upset.
Oh, of
I would
course,
be
of
like,
course.
This
I mean, there are a lot of really cool pictures on it also. Like, I have just, like, spent a few minutes just scrolling through and be like, ooh, look at that guy. Like, oh, what, he's got a sheep? What's he doing with that sheep?